Greetings, brothers. Greetings, Commander Dante. Today I want to talk to you about none other than Commander Dante himself. And recently I actually put up a poll on this channel, so if you did check that out, stay tuned and hopefully you'll find this pretty entertaining. So the results of the poll were as followed. 841 members of our community voted in this, and the question that I posed was a long question actually, and basically it was like almost on every stream now. People ask me, what do I think about Dante, his future, and is he going to get a Primaris model? And I think the one point of reference I really have is Mephiston, who became Primaris, I think halfway through 8th edition. And when he became Primaris, he got +1 attack and +1 wound, and his points cost varied. I looked back through the old codex, it fluctuated up and down, but nothing really changed point-wise. You know, similar points to what he was before. So when I think about this and apply the same thinking to Commander Dante, if we got a new Primaris Commander Dante, and he got +1 wound and +1 attack on his current profile, and he kept sort of the 165 points, would I be happy with that? And I guess me personally, the answer is 100% no. I do not think I would still field him even if he got that, and there's a couple of reasons for that, right? I run a chapter master on a bike who straight away has 1 more toughness. 1 more toughness makes a big difference in the current meta. There's a lot of melta-guns, there's a lot of power fists. All these things wound Dante on 2s, however they wound the chapter master on the bike in 3s. Death Guard are a thing in the current meta, the -1 toughness. So you could argue that with the -1 toughness, they would wound the chapter master on the bike on 2s if they're using like higher strength weapons. However, the chapter master on the bike can take Angel's Artifice. This boosts him to 7 wounds, so more wounds than Dante, and toughness 6. He also has the same 2+, 4++ save. So again, if the Death Guard is in the meta, he's still toughness 5. Now, this makes him pretty resilient against a lot of those plague weapons, and against some of their psychic powers, it's actually really good. I think at toughness 6, he's very immune to small arms fire. You know, heavy bolters are only wounding him on 5s. I would guess a heavy bolter is actually a little bit stronger than what you would normally class as small arms fire. And Gift of Foresight is arguably one of the most, or probably one of the strongest warlord traits that I've seen in 9th edition. And I find Gift of Foresight synergizes with the chapter master on the bike brilliantly. The amount of times I miss or fail to wound with Dante's Infernal Pistol, the fact that you can reroll 1 hit and 1 wound every turn almost guarantees. You know, you're hitting on 2s, you're rerolling. You're usually wounding on 2s or 3s, you're rerolling. The strength that the Gift of Foresight gives the Infernal Pistol is insane. It's so good. I like Dante, I like him a lot. You know, he's been a chapter master for the Blood Angels for pretty much as long as I've been in this hobby, damn near 30 years now. But I just cannot see myself fielding him, and if he does get +1 attack and +1 wound, I will still not be fielding him. So what we've done is we've come up with a little bit of a story, and before we go any further, spoiler ahead for Darkness in the Blood book. If you haven't read Darkness in the Blood, you probably want to skip this chapter. I'll mark it below, so just skip over this chapter. However, at the end of Darkness in the Blood, Dante actually wants to undergo the Rubicon because his wounds aren't healing, so I assume that means he's dying. I'm not sure they say in as many words that he's dying, but Mephiston needs to undergo the Rubicon because of the state that he's in. So anyway, what I'd like to see is Dante goes ahead and tries to cross the Rubicon Primaris, accepting the risks that it could kill him. Dante asks Corbulo and Mephiston to oversee the procedure. However, in crossing the Rubicon, Dante dies. Desperate to save the Lord and Chapter, Corbulo uses the last of what remains of Sanguinius' blood within the Red Grail, that's the cup he carries around all the time, to attempt to revive Dante, and Mephiston dives into the warp to attempt to save Dante's soul. However, in the warp, things aren't always what they seem, and Mephiston brings back the soul of the great angel himself, Sanguinius. Sanguinius' soul binds with Dante's body. There's a mighty flash of angelic light. As the light fades, Dante lies on the operating table, revived and reborn. His skin is no longer withered and old, his face resembles that of Sanguinius, and he's ingrown a pair of angelic wings. Dante is reborn, and so begins the second coming of the great angel, and to do this, he'd obviously have some stats to match, and he'd move up to maybe around 300 plus points as some sort of demi-Primarch style character. He'd get a major increase to his stat line, and he'd get an aura, I think, that would maybe buff all Blood Angels jump infantry, right? We talk a lot about, like, Blood Angels have been left behind in 9th edition, like our Codex was one of the first ones. I think... It's hard for me to be objective, right, when I only play the one chapter and say Blood Angels have been left behind, but when I play some of these other chapters and I see the plethora of rules and great stratagems that they have, and really the ones that we didn't get, I feel a little bit underwhelmed with the 9th edition Blood Angels Codex. Is maybe the fairest way to say it. Like, I don't necessarily think we're underpowered. Maybe underwhelmed is a better way to put it. So I pitched this question to you guys, the community. We got 841 votes. 15%, so about 120 people said Dante should become Primaris, +1 attack, +1 wounds, just like Mephiston. 6%, so maybe like 50 people said we're happy with Dante the way he is. I know some of you people that voted that watch the channel and love Dante, and I'm sorry, at the moment you guys are wrong. And then 78%, so overwhelmingly, so out of 840 people, I guess maybe like 675-ish, so a huge majority said there should be a demi-Primarch Dante, it sounds awesome, and let's give him a major stat increase. And before we go any further, let me just talk about Mephistons Primaris upgrade, because it really is the elephant in the room, or the great unclean one in the room, if we want to phrase it as a Warhammer phrase. So Mephiston crossed the Rubicon, and like I said, I've checked back in the stats, and it fluctuated, but there was no real difference in its point cost. He didn't really go up or down throughout the last edition very much at all. He gained 1 attack and he gained 1 wound, and he got the Primaris keyword. One thing that I guess I forgot a lot is that with the Primaris keyword, you could use transhuman on him if you wanted to. If you don't have anything else that needs transhuman, there might be a situation where Mephiston could take transhuman. But I think his biggest problem remained, like, he has no invulnerable save. You expect him on the front line, and with the current meta with so many meltaguns running around, it's very easy for him to die in a single turn of combat. Like, a single meltagun can overkill him at half range very easily. And his sword, Vitarius, is quite swingy because it's D3 damage. You know, if you compare him against the Librarian Dreadnought, the Librarian has that flat 3 and potentially 6 damage from the halberd. So what Mephiston gains in additional attacks and a better weapon skill is very quickly lost due to the swinginess of the damage. In some ways he actually became less desirable, right? Because Red Rampage was a stratagem that we used a lot last edition to get D3 additional attacks on a character, and it got removed, and now it is, well, it's just not relevant anymore. I've never used Red Rampage in 9th edition, not once. In a single battle have I thought that I could get value out of it. So Red Rampage moved from something that I would use all the time to something that I would never use. And also, Honour of the Chapter was another big one, in that Mephiston used to be able to fight twice. So he was very much a missile. And I guess they have changed the rules so that characters aren't missiles anymore. And in some ways, I do like that. But yeah, I mean, like, to me, Mephiston should be a clear choice as a strong option beyond the Librarian Dreadnought, right? He is our named character. He is our chief librarian. He should be, his stat line should reflect that. Like, it should be a difficult decision for me to not include Mephiston in my lists. That is not the case. Since Mephiston crossed the Primaris or crossed the Rubicon and became Primaris, he's literally collected dust on my shelf. I used him. I've never used him since the new 9th edition Codex came out, and that is the truth. I mean, if you don't believe me, go watch my battle reports. I put a battle report up every week. We have never fielded Mephiston since the 9th edition Codex came in. So life right now is hard as a Blood Angel. And I guess the other thing to consider at the moment is the Sisters just got that new Morgan Val character who comes in at 265 points, and is horrifically powerful for 265 points. I have put her profile and Rabuti Gilliman's on screen right now, and I think the thing that confuses me a little bit here is Gilliman used to have reroll hits and wounds, and I think last edition they decided that was too strong because you could castle around Gilliman, you could do a ridiculous amount of damage. Well, Morgan Val has reroll hits and wounds. This is kind of crazy. It's for Sisters Core or characters, and bear in mind her Warlord trait actually lets her reroll hits and wounds in combat, and she can fight twice. And her weapon is, I think, strength 8 minus 3, 3 damage with 6s doing mortal wounds, and also 6s burst. 100 points more than Dante. More toughness, more wounds, the half damage. Yes, I guess Dante can fly, but I mean, if you compare it, she moves 8, right? So there's only a few inches in that. She also has a shrug against mortal wounds, and yeah, I mean, it's just interesting that a new character can come out only 100 points more and just be leagues apart. I think leagues apart is a fair description. I think as well, Rubicon Primaris, he's coming in at 380 points, and he isn't quite, for 200 and I guess 15 points more than Dante. I don't have as much of a problem with Rubicon. Rubicon does a lot of damage. He can also revive. He has an amazing and vulnerable save, and he is very, very good at buffing Ultramarines or his chapter, I guess, around him. And in the lore, Dante has become Lord of the Imperial Nihilists. He is, we got that rule essentially in 9th edition, but all we got was one single CP for the Lord Regent of Imperial Nihilists, and I think that's kind of harsh that Dante, other Space Marine chapters are supposed to really revere his leadership, and he only gives 1 CP, where like Marganus Calgar gives 2, and Rubicon Primaris in this case gives 3. So I've been thinking for a while now, what would it take to get Dante back on the table? And this video, I guess, is not so much about what might it take to get Dante back on the table, but more about what I would like to see the Blood Angels get. And I think what I would like to see the Blood Angels get is a key character that symbolises Blood Angels. And I think Sanguinius came out from Forge World, I think maybe early 2020 now, or maybe late 2019, and Sanguinius sold out super quickly. Like, he's super popular. There's a lot of Blood Angels players, and I think a lot of us would love a big centerpiece model to include in our armies, or maybe not even include in every list, right? Like, I don't think this new character, or I don't think if Dante got reborn, he necessarily needs to be an auto take. Like, I think that's maybe the design principles that they're going after at the moment. Like, Morgan Val is an auto take. I don't know if it's to sell more Morgan Val models, or if it's just to switch up the current meta. I mean, it could be either or, but I think the thing I want is like a decision to have to be made, right? Like, I could take this new character and he'd be awesome and he can do certain things, or I can run what we've got at the moment. So let me reintroduce you to Commander Dante Reborn, and I'm going to cost him at 340 points. And this doesn't have to be what Commander Dante is. This is an idea, and I have an idea from a community member as well. His idea is maybe a little bit more than mine at the points cost and stuff, but bear with me, and I'd love to hear in the comments what you think of this idea, and if this model came out, would you buy him? Because that is the main thing, right? Like, would you consider adding this to your army? Would it make a cool centerpiece, and would it do justice to our Lord Commander Dante, who's been with us, like I said, about 30 years? So, Commander Dante Reborn, 340 points. Movement 14, weapon and ballistic stay at 2. Strength and toughness go up from 4 to 6. Wounds go up to 9. Attacks go up to 8. Leadership goes up to 10. He keeps his 2+, 4 double plus invulnerable save. War gear then. So Dante had the first Infernal Pistol in Warhammer 40,000. I think at the time Dante had the Infernal Pistol, no other model had the Infernal Pistol, right? So let's go back a little bit to that. Dante's Infernal Pistol then is the exact same profile as a normal Infernal Pistol, however it's 12 inches and it always gets the +2 damage, whereas other ones get the damage on half range. We just always get the +2 damage, right? Dante's Infernal Pistol is that good. It's the original one, it's been upgraded, it's awesome. The Axe Mortalis, I've got no problem with Axe Mortalis. The current profile of like plus 3 strength, minus 3, 2 damage is okay. Let's change it. Let's go plus 2 strength, so that now puts us on strength 8. Let's keep the minus 3, but let's make it 3 damage. I think this is a huge problem with Dante right now, is this 2 damage. There's far too many things that are minus 1 damage, or half the damage. 2 damage weapons are not what they used to be at all, so let's go for 3 damage on his axe. So we keep the same, we make his pistol better, we make his axe a little bit better. Abilities, he's obviously got Angel of Death and Death from Above and the Iron Halo, and the Deathmaster of Sanguinius, let's keep that the same, is minus 1 to hit him either for like a melee attack or a ranged attack. Lord Regent of the Imperial Annihilus, let's change that. 1 CP, like I said earlier, is not it's not justified for how great a commander he is. It needs to be at least 2, so let's change that by including Dante. Your army's battle forged, you make him your warlord, you get plus 2 CP. Alright, let's keep moving on. Next up is a brand new ability, and it's a play on the Chapter Master ability. We're going to call it Supreme Commander of the Blood Angels, and it's going to be an aura. You can reroll hits for attacks made within models in friendly Blood Angels core or Blood Angels character units whilst they're within 9 inches of this model, and they can reroll wounds for ones made by attacks by friendly Blood Angels core while they're within 6 of this model. So basically, it's kind of like looking at his heroic bearing that he had before, where he could do the 9-inch aura, making that aura a little bit stronger in terms of it's not just reroll ones, it's reroll all hits, and then we add the reroll ones for the lieutenants. We also add Bringer of Sanguinius Light, another new ability. In your command phase, select 1 friendly Blood Angels jump pack infantry within 9. So this is jump pack infantry only ability. Like I said, I think this would add a new element to the jump packness. Is that a word? Jump packiness, I guess, of the Blood Angels. Until the start of your next command phase, when resolving a melee attack by this unit, and vulnerable saves cannot be made. So this basically turns your Death Company, or your Vanguard Vets, or your Sanguinary Guard into a complete death ball if they are within 9 of Blood Angels. It has to be a jump pack core unit within 9. Finally, let's take his epic Hero of the Imperium stratagem and let's change it, right? At the moment it lets you cast 1 epic deed per battle. Your epic deeds at the moment are very limited. You can fight when you die, or you can angel sacrifice. Let's just change it to once per battle. Any Blood Angel stratagem can be played for a cost of 0 command points. I actually don't play that many Blood Angel stratagems because, like I said, the book came out at the beginning of 9th. There aren't so many great stratagems in it, but if he's your warlord and he's on the table once per game, you can play any stratagem for free. I'd also like to change his warlord trait to give him the Gift of Foresight. I think that the Gift of Foresight would make total sense with him if he has become sort of a demi-Primarch Sanguinius and he has travelled through the warp. I also think that Gift of Foresight is just so much better than his current heroic bearing. One of the heroic bearing 3 inches additional for the rerolls is nice, but the second part of heroic bearing plus 1 to leadership is so lackluster. There's so... I fail about 1 leadership test every 3 or 4 games, and I don't even feel Dante. So the chance of failing a leadership test for Space Marines with everyone running minimum size units is very, very small. So it makes current Dante, half of his warlord trait is just completely useless and redundant. I'd like to see that changed. Just get rid of heroic bearing on Dante. It's not a good pick. It's actually not a good pick on the Sanguinar either. I think the Sanguinar, the pick that would make sense, or now with the new rules with the Sanguinar, would be Speed of the Primarch. So when he arrives from Deep Strike, he's actually fighting first, as opposed to heroic bearing just makes no sense on the Sanguinar. So anyway, we're off topic. Let's get back onto Dante. And then the second warlord trait, because a lot of these new characters are getting multiple warlord traits potentially. Mortarion I think gets 3, but anyway, what about a Golden God? And all these names that I've come up with are from the lower pages of the old 8th edition and earlier codexes. I actually have some of them here. So I've looked through the old codexes, came up with some names. Feel free to rip them apart in the comments. I'm not really a lore guy. But anyway, a Golden God. So roll a d6 for every time a friendly Blood Angels jump pack infantry model within 6 of this warlord would lose a wound. On a 5+, this wound is ignored. So he can basically bring back the Standard of Sacrifices ability to synergize with our jump infantry, right? And I think that's something that seems to have been lost in the 9th edition. There's actually a paragraph in the 9th edition book that tells us, in the codex, that tells us how much Primaris units love jump packs. Yet there isn't a single Primaris unit in the codex that can field a jump pack. So I would like to get back to somewhere where our named characters can really synergize with our jump infantry, because jump infantry is what Blood Angels are supposed to be all about. And like I've said, I've been running all my characters on bikes where possible, because the bikes are just a better option. They're cheaper in terms of points. Sure, you have to maneuver around terrain, but you get 2 inches additional movement, which usually makes up for it. And then they also get like additional wounds and additional toughness, and survivability is really key in 9th edition, especially with so many melta-guns in the meta. So give us back the ability that we had with the Standard of Sacrifice, the 5+ shrug. I think it makes a world of difference for Sanguinary Guard. And I mean, don't even get me started on the fact that Sanguinary Guard went up in points costs in the last chapter approved book. Really don't get me started on that. And then I've actually broken down why I think his new point cost should be around 340 points, and that's +2 strength, +2 toughness. I guess we're going to charge 10 points for that. Usually in the codexes, an additional wound is 10 points, so 3 new wounds give us 30 more points for that. Improve his pistol and his axe, 15 more points. Give him 1 more CP. Usually a CP converts to 25 points, so an additional 20 points. Improve the aura and the rerolls of wounds, 30 points. Buff nearby jump infantry 1 unit with invulnerable save removal, 40 points. Swap out his current warlord trait. I guess that's just a straight swap. Heroic bearing is in my opinion is bad on him anyway. And then Golden God, that new trait which basically brings back the Standard of Sacrifice, which is kind of like his relic, so that he is giving that shrug to jump infantry around him. So all said and done, you're looking at 340 points for the Reborn Dante. As I said, feel free to absolutely attack and digest this in the comments. I'd love to hear what you guys think. I've never designed, disclaimer, I've never designed a character for 40k before. This is my first. Now up on the screen, I'm going to throw a data sheet made by Adam Graham, which is one of the longest supporting members of this channel actually. So big props to you, Adam. Thank you for that. And he's come up with Reborn Dante as well. And a few of us have talked about this for a while, and I guess 80% of the Blood Angels community agree with us. So here's his data sheet made by Adam. He had him in at 265 points. And some key things to say is that, you know, Adam's done like a cool idea where like he gets 1 psychic power. He's also sort of given him like a transhuman with Angelic Host Reborn. He's also looked at a buff directly for Sanguinary Guard. If you think back, when Sanguinary Guards were first released, they were essentially Dante's bodyguards, right? So he's basically giving Obsec to Sanguinary Guard within 3 inches of Dante. He's also giving a +2 move to advance and charge rolls to flying units near Dante. So again, it's kind of nice that, you know, I guess the Blood Angels players in general are feeling like our chapter identity of the strength of the jump pack is just missing, and as such, a few of us are putting together ideas. I think the interesting thing here is Adam's actually put a buff, the very last one here, Heroes of Baal. While Dante was in the battlefield, friendly Blood Angels and Successor Chapter units that do not have the Primaris keyword automatically pass leadership. So I guess the idea behind that is, it's said in the name, right? The Heroes of Baal. They've been fighting with Dante for so long. They know that there is no surrender. There is no reason to fall back. We are the Blood Angels. We will hold fast like we did against Hive Fleet Leviathan. And as such, Firstborn Marines do not need to worry about morale when Dante's on the battlefield. So Adam has done some cool ideas here. And I think he's called out that his weapon should be 3 damage as well. Feel free to pause the video and read more into Adam's idea. And you know what? His idea is fine. I mean, it's great. It's nice to see a different perspective on it. You know, I've tried to balance mine, but, I mean, as I say, I'm no GW designer. So maybe there's a situation where GW can come up with something that makes us happy. But if 80% of Blood Angels players, I'm rounding up, I shouldn't round up, I should say 78% of Blood Angels players want to see some sort of large model that is the centerpiece of our army, that synergizes with our jump packs and brings a reason to, you know, run the jump pack assault like it's always been called, then I would love to see it happen. I don't hate Blood Angels right now, don't get me wrong. I fight every game and I try my best to win. You guys know this. And, you know, we fight the good fight. But it would be lovely to have, well, at least a new Dante model. And please, please, please don't just give him +1 wound and +1 attack. Because if you do that, there's zero chance that I'm fielding him. Which is sad because... yeah, I mean, I love my Chapter Master on the bike. He's a cool model, but like, it would be nice to get back to the jump pack assault, and not feel like I'm picking it. Like, I play competitively, so I want to pick models that are competitive. And the named characters right now, they're just not competitive. There's nothing else I can say on that. In some ways, I think maybe part of it comes from the fact that there's just so many things now that are countering the Red Thirst. You know, like, the +1 to wound in melee combat is brilliant, but yeah, there's just, you know, we're seeing new Orc units that can counter it. There's Necron transports that can counter it. There's Sisters of Battle Warlord traits that counter it. If we're going to be a competitive army, our main staple of our army being countered is very difficult to deal with. So that's why the title of this video is Make Dante Great Again. In the red, white and blue of America. I mean, I'm not American, but I thought it's, you know, I thought it sounded cool. And in some ways, maybe this video should have been titled Make the Blood Angels Great Again. Like, think about our jump pack infantry. If you're gonna go ahead and write a paragraph in the 9th edition book about how we love jump infantry, and I'll put it on screen now. If you're gonna write that paragraph, then don't not give us any Primaris jump infantry, and give us some rules that make the jump infantry better, because at the moment Vanguard vets are more desirable to just about everybody than Death Company. And I mean, that's not a great situation for an army to be in. Death Company intercessors are nowhere in the meta. Death Company are getting dropped for Vanguard veterans, and in some cases Sanguinary Guard are now getting dropped for Vanguard veterans. So something's got to give. Make Blood Angels great again. Make Dante great again. Leave me a comment down below. I'm sure this will be a contentious video. I'm sure some of you guys will debate it with me heavily. But what I would like to see is just, let's make Dante and potentially the Blood Angels great again. Maybe 3 wound Primaris Sanguinary Guard would go a long way to helping things. But anyway, I'll catch you in the next video. I hope you enjoyed this sort of alternative look. I don't even know what I'm calling this video, but I really hope you enjoyed it. Leave me a comment and we'll discuss this further on Discord, I'm sure. By the blood are we made strong, brothers. Peace.